So, Chantal, you were saying that you grew up in a small town and had a very rustic life, but then you moved overseas to Italy, correct?
Yes, I moved to Bologna, Italy.
Wow, that's such a huge transition. What was that like? And like, why did you move to Italy?
Oh, wow. So I moved to Italy because I was studying abroad during my junior year at university. And so I was to do a immersion program at the University of Bologna, which means all of my classes were in Italian, all of my homework, all of my exams, everything was completely in Italian. And I also had to find my own housing, which was also the first time I found housing on my own, because I had always lived in the university dorms at my university in the United States. And so, yeah, to navigate a new city, a city in general, and then finding my first apartment and learning how to survive a new university system, it was exhilarating and very exciting. And yeah, I loved it.
That's so cool. So, what was it like when you first got to Italy? Did you have culture shock? I mean, because you came from a small town environment and now you're living in a big city in Europe.
I think my friends would probably say that I was very quick to trust everyone. As I mentioned before, growing up in a small town, I knew all my neighbors and I was very trusting of strangers and very welcoming, and I still am. But in hindsight, when I moved to Italy, I think I was maybe a little too naive sometimes, and especially not knowing the language, it was easy to sort of put my trust or my faith in someone when I needed help, because I needed help often, whether for translating or even just grocery shopping. And so sometimes I think I look back and I'm like, oh, maybe I should have walked away a little bit sooner or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, so compare life in Italy to life in the States. What was it like? How was it different?
Life in Italy feels so much slower. People are still very productive and they're very passionate, and they go to their jobs and they go to work, but there's just this sense of how important it is to enjoy your time and to enjoy your time with family and with friends. So, for example, I feel like in the United States, people, and this is very general, but I feel like people have their jobs and they work really hard, and to the point where maybe they're so tired they go home and they just want to watch Netflix or watch TV and relax, and that's their way of relaxing, is being at home. And in Italy, it feels like the way people recharge and the way that they relax and get their energy back is being in the company of their friends and being in the company of their family. So they'll finish work and everyone will meet up for a drink in the center of town. And it's not to drink a lot. It's really just to have a glass of wine, eat some delicious food, and just sit and talk, but about nothing, really. Just enjoy the time, and eventually people decide to go home, but it'll be hours later, even though they're exhausted from work. But that's how they relax, and that's how they get their energy back, and they go to work the next day and are productive, and I really enjoyed that the most.
I can relate to that. I was in Spain for about 2 months just traveling around, and the one thing that I still remember the most is that I would go into a little pub or a bar late at night, 10 o'clock at night, and there would be old people. And I'm not talking like 50 or 60. I'm talking like 75 years old maybe. And they're well-dressed, and they're sitting at a table with their friends, and I could never imagine that happening in the United States. And it was so impressive. I was so impressed by that people really in the later years of their life still had that social spirit. They go out, they socialize, they have a good time. And we're talking late at night, like 10 o'clock. You would never see that in America, ever.
Yeah, I completely agree, and it's very similar in Italy, too.
So what about the food? I hear the food is fantastic. Everyone, raves about Italian food.
Yes, it is so good, and I probably, wow, where to begin with food. I love the cheeses. there's just so many different kinds of cheese, and I'm a huge cheese, meat, jam person, and so the combination of having all of that available in Italy, and especially the different regions are known for different foods. So sometimes you can't even eat a specific type of food unless you're in that city, and or otherwise you'd have to pay a lot to get it at a different part of the country. So yeah, I mean, pizzas were delicious too. I know it's stereotypical, but the pizzas were awesome, and they're so different than the US. They're so thin, super, super thin. There's no like deep dish pizza in
Yeah.
Italy, or double crust or cheese-filled
Yeah.
crust that doesn't exist.
Exactly. Like it melts in your mouth, right?
Yeah, and it's so delicious. And pastas, of course, are great, and their wines are delicious too. And yeah, I I miss Italian food a lot, a lot.
Well, I am thinking of going there, so you'll have to give me some tips.
I would love to.
So, I'm here with Chantal, and we both are from the United States, and we both are teachers in Japan. So I thought we would talk a little bit about some of the stereotypes that people might have in other countries, for example, Japan or other countries, about Americans. So first, we're going to talk about hamburgers.
Okay.
Okay, so hamburgers. How often do you actually eat a hamburger?
Hamburgers. I would say it's actually not that often. Although I love hamburgers, I love them very much, but maybe only a couple times a month or so.
Yeah, I agree. I think hamburgers is the one thing that does not meet the stereotype that we don't eat them that often. Like, I never have hamburgers in America.
Okay.
Pretty much
yeah.
never. Like, I'll have them if somebody's barbecuing it, maybe for a picnic or something. Yeah, and if I do eat fast food, it's usually not a hamburger. I eat something else. Like, I eat tacos or burritos, right?
Yeah.
I don't eat hamburgers. So that's one. I think hamburgers don't really match the stereotype myth.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
agree.
agree?
I agree, especially because I know many of my students here in Japan, they will ask me often what I eat for lunch. And before I respond, because they're playing a joke on me, they'll say like, "Oh, hamburger, hamburger." And
Yeah.
I have to tell them that, now I do live in Japan, but in the United States, I don't typically eat hamburgers every day.
Yeah.
But that is a lot of what they think. They think that I eat hamburgers regularly, or at least fast food, but their image of fast food is only hamburgers.
So true. And actually, the funny side story to that, or contrary story, would be, sushi. So we both teach in Japan, and I think most people think that you eat sushi all the time in Japan, and it's almost the equivalent of the hamburger. You don't eat it that much,
That is so true.
right?
So true. I cannot say how true that is.
Or another one we're talking about stereotypes would be sumo. So Japanese people are not that into sumo, really, right? But it's an iconic thing.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the point of baseball.
Ah, yes.
So do you actually like baseball?
I do. I love baseball. I do. And I used to go to some games in the United States. In San Francisco, I went to several Giants games growing up. Yeah. So I do enjoy baseball. Do you enjoy baseball?
I do. I have to admit, like I played, baseball when I was younger. I loved baseball. But I do think it's not as popular as people think it is. You know what I mean? I think that
Yes.
like a lot of people like it, you like it, I like it, but a lot of people could care less
Yes.
about baseball.
Most of the time, I think I hear people say it's a slow sport, it's boring, no one wants to watch it. They're
Right.
much more inclined to watch basketball or football instead of baseball.
So true.
So I want to ask you about when is the right age to have stuff or to start doing stuff. What do you think is the right age to start having a phone?
Oh, I think for security reasons, to keep the child safe, perhaps maybe about 11 or 12, when they start going around places without their parents.
Yeah.
It would be a way for me to contact my daughter. Even now, my daughter's only 6 and she doesn't have a phone. That's far too young, I believe. However, she walks to school by herself
Yeah.
and walks home by herself, and that stresses me out. Um, for her safety. So there are times where I wish I could phone her or text her, but she doesn't have a phone, and I do believe that 6 is far too young to have a
A
phone.
little bit too young.
Yes. So purely for security reasons, um, I think probably around 11 or 12.
How old were you when you first got your phone?
Oh, well, I'm an old person, so people didn't have mobile phones. I was reaching the end of high school. I was, I think, 17 when I got my first mobile phone, and it was a big brick. But again, that was for, I guess security reasons.
Yeah.
My parents got it for me. I was going out, I'd started going out at night, going to concerts, and I was beginning to be allowed going into bars and things, 17, 18. So, yeah, it was a good security thing. My parents were appreciative of being able to contact me.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you? How old were you when you first got your mobile phone?
Oh goodness. I was about 12 or 13. I was really young.
Okay.
Um, and I only got my first mobile phone or my first cell phone because my best friend had got the same one, and I wanted to send like picture messages to her. 'Cause it was back in the old days where you couldn't send photos, you couldn't take photos.
Picture messages. I
Picture
couldn't even
messages.
send picture messages. Mine was just text, like pressing the same button over and over
yeah.
again.
Oh yeah. So I never really used it
hmm
as like a way of security. I just used it to send really overpriced picture messages to my friend for absolutely no reason. It was such a waste. And to play Snake. Do you remember Snake?
Oh yeah,
Like the little
Snake.
game that you could play on your phone.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, I didn't use it for a good use, I think. I just used it to waste time. It's
Fair enough.
ridiculous.
Well, you're 12, you said, right?
12, 13, yeah.
hmm Well, that sounds age appropriate, I think. Age appropriate use.
Yeah, it's a good time to start wasting your time.
Yeah.
Good age to start wasting time.
Yeah.
So, what do you think is a good age for girls to start wearing makeup?
Hmm. I think it depends on the kind of makeup that they're wearing and the purpose, because to me it seems like there are two different kinds. They're young girls, young children who wear play makeup.
Yeah.
It's a toy. It washes off easily,
Yeah.
garish colors, very mild on the skin, and it's, literally just coloring in their face.
Yeah.
It's not, enhancing their features or trying to look as society thinks beautiful. They're not covering up any pimples or spots. It's not like that. It's just coloring in their face, trying to look more like a princess. And I have a 6-year-old daughter, and she loves makeup. She has her own like toy makeup,
Yeah.
and she asks permission to wear it, and I let her wear it. I've bought some for her. I make sure that she can only do it if she has a clean face and clean hands, and that she washes it off properly at the end, and that she tidies it away afterwards.
That's good.
She's actually on her final warning because she used to leave it out, and I've warned her I will throw it in the bin because I have a toddler and she wants to see what her big sister's doing and she wants to play with it, so she grabs it and makes a mess everywhere. So yeah, 6-year-old is on her final warning. So I guess to answer your question, my 6-year-old is wearing her play makeup already. So it doesn't bother me. Young
How
is,
old were you when you started wearing makeup?
Well, I love makeup, and that's probably where my daughter got it from. I wanted to wear makeup from a young age, the way my daughter does. I wasn't allowed; it was forbidden, and I first actually managed to buy a secret lipstick when I was about 9 or 10.
Secret
Yeah, I
lipstick.
had to hide it from my mum, and she would only let me wear lip gloss when I was that age, and I wasn't allowed to wear any lipstick, so I had to buy a secret one. And I was always so interested in my grandmother's makeup and my mum's makeup as well, but she never really wore much. She has a very simple sort of beauty routine. I'm much more interested in it than she is. She ever was. So I don't know where I inherited that from, but my daughter's definitely inherited that from me. So maybe because it was forbidden for me, that's why I was drawn to it more.
Makes it more tantalizing.
I think so. That could be it. But yeah, it's a real hobby for me. I really, really love it. I wish I had more money to purchase more. You can never have enough.
Never have too many lipsticks.
I know, it's true.
What do you think about boys wearing makeup?
If they want to wear makeup, then they should. Like it annoys me, this horrible idea and concept of like men and boys have to be manly. Like, what is manly? For me, makeup is an art. It really is. It's artistry. And if they want to, if they're feeling bad about their skin, the way I feel bad about my skin, right? If I have pimples or spots, I'm lucky. I get to just cover it up with like foundation and concealer, bit of blusher. It makes me feel better. But if there's like a boy who has going through teenage years and he's got bad skin and he wants to cover it up and his macho friends catch him wearing it or whatever, people in school catch him wearing it and it can be a really bad situation for him. And I think that is awful. It is really, really terrible. I think boys should wear makeup as they like.
Mm.
I actually follow quite a lot of makeup artists on social media and I look at many, many pictures of different products and the art that they produce. And I follow male makeup artists as well, and the skills they have are unbelievable. The blending
They're
skills,
contouring. Oh my
yeah, the
goodness.
blending skills and like covering up, basically just like covering up their whole face and putting a new face on top of it.
It's pretty impressive.
It's really impressive. It's so amazing. I would really enjoy a makeup lesson from from some of the artists that I follow on different social media sites.
Absolutely.
So your favorite age group is the junior high school age.
Yeah.
Do you have much experience teaching younger children?
Younger children like toddler age?
Well, how about elementary school?
Yeah, elementary school I've been teaching for about 5 years, 5 or 6 years. They're fine. You just have to be a bit silly with those kids.
Yes.
Just have a good time. Can't really be too serious when you're teaching young kids because they're still kids.
That's true. So how about younger than that? How about the kindergarten age? How are they for you?
They're probably my Achilles heel. I'm not great with kindergarten students or younger than that because they don't respond to reason.
Right.
Yeah. So they're difficult for me to teach. I prefer teaching older students. How about you? What kind of age range do you like teaching?
I think I appreciate all parts of all age groups. Every group has its pros and cons. Recently, I've been teaching university students, and I think I think I'm remembering how much I enjoy it because they are adults and you can treat them like adults, and you can still have a bit of silly fun with them too.
Yeah.
So these days, I think I prefer teaching the older students, the university age students. You can really go into topics quite deeply,
Yeah.
and you can get some interesting answers from some students. Other students, of course, you can't.
Everyone's different, right?
Yes, you just have to find a way of teasing their potential out of all of them, I think.
Is there a group that you don't like teaching?
I'm not used to junior high school children, junior high school students. I don't have any experience with them, so that would make me nervous, I think.
How do you think they would be different to university students?
I think, from what I mentioned before, the teenagers, the hormones, I think that would be different. There's it's bubbling inside them, all of these changes of feelings and emotions, and they have so many things to deal with, pressure of growing up, and I think that can be more challenging. But I think it's important as a teacher to try to remember what it was like when you were that age.
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing that will help you.
absolutely. So what do you think about teaching young children, like babies? How are you with that?
I do really enjoy that. Babies are awesome. They're they have their own set of needs. But usually the very young classes come with, the parents are there too. So it's kind of a group-led situation, teacher-led group. And yeah, it's good fun for me. They're very cute and squishy and and very not uncontrollable. What's the word?
Unpredictable?
That's it. Completely unpredictable. One day they can be in the best mood ever, and then the next day they're just a nightmare.
I think
So
that's why I'm terrified of them. Because they're so unpredictable. I don't like it.
yeah, that's true. And the bodily functions too,
Yeah, no thanks.
There's
No
all of
thanks.
that.
Yeah, I'm not prepared to deal with that. No, thank you. No, thank you. No bodily functions.